As we reflect on the final journey of Jesus leading to his death on the cross, we also contemplate the lives of our sisters and brothers around the world living in extreme poverty. People like those served by Sister Consilia from Zimbabwe, featured on the Kfod parish poster for Lent 2020. She says, "What drives me to do my work is that in our congregation we work with the poorest of the poor. In Matora Mission Hospital, those who come to the hospital, they come with a need and they want to be helped. I enjoy sharing love with them, caring for them." Let us pray together for God to transform our lives and the lives of others. We bless you, Lord, and praise you. Your wonders are ever on our lips. For we taste and see that the Lord is good. When we eat, Lord, we thank you for our food and all your gifts to us, as we taste and see that the Lord is good. Open our hearts, Lord, to others, especially those who hunger and hurt. Together, let us taste and see that the Lord is good. Inspire us, Lord, and move us to reach out in love to those in need, so all people may taste and see that the Lord is good. The governor again said to them, "Which of the two do you want me to release for you?" And they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "Then what should I do with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" All of them said, "Let him be crucified." Pilate released Barabbas for the crowd, and after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. Jesus has done nothing wrong. He has spent his whole life doing only good, and yet he is condemned to death. The crowd have turned against him and are willing to release Barabbas instead of him. Indigenous communities have cared for the Amazon for centuries, but during the burning of the Amazon rainforest in 2019, many expressed dismay at the way in which illegal deforestation is allowed to rip through their traditional lands. A community near one set of fires in Brazil said it felt at risk, since the people depend entirely on the forest for their livelihoods, fishing, harvesting plants for food, and traditional remedies and making crafts. Can you think of a time when you have felt like the whole world was against you? When no matter what you did, it was not good enough for others? We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you know what it means to stand alone in front of those who reject you and don't understand you. Walk with us. When we feel that we can't make a difference, help us to keep going. Teach us to share your love. After mocking Jesus, the soldiers stripped him of the robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to crucify him. The guards dressed Jesus up as a king, with a crown made of thorns, and mocked him. They gave him a heavy wooden cross to carry. Jesus knows that the way will not be easy, and that it will lead to his death. And yet he shoulders his burden and starts on his way. The burden of carrying water over long distances is one that too many people have to bear. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, it has been estimated that women and girls spend 40 billion hours a year collecting water, equivalent to a year's worth of labour by the entire workforce of France. We all have burdens to carry. We also place burdens on other people. In what ways do I place unnecessary burdens on other people? We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you picked up your cross even though you did not deserve it. Walk with us. When we feel afraid, help us to be brave. Give us the courage to speak out to change our world, so that all our sisters and brothers can experience justice. He was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. Whilst carrying his cross, Jesus falls down. The weight of the cross, the pressures, the burdens of the world are all piled on his shoulders. Aya, a Syrian refugee living in Lebanon, is part of the Youth Resolve project, funded by the EU Madad Trust Fund, which brings together young Lebanese and Syrian people. The project promotes life skills, peace building, and social cohesion through community activities such as planting trees, creating play areas, and organising summer camps for children from both the host and refugee communities. Aya says, "My mother is Lebanese and we came just to spend the summer in Lebanon. But then the crisis happened and we've had to stay for 7 years. As a young woman, as a Syrian refugee, I think it is my role to teach everyone and raise awareness about conflict resolution, which will lead to peace building and will help the overall situation become better. The choices we make have an impact on other people both near and far. In what way do my choices cause others to stumble? We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you know how it feels to struggle and to fall. Walk with us. Show us how to walk with others, to know what it feels like to be in another's shoes. Reach out to us with caring hands. Show us how to join our hands with communities around the world who are bringing hope to their people." Then Simeon blessed them and said to his mother Mary, "This child is destined for the falling and the rising of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be opposed, so that the inner thoughts of many will be revealed, and a sword will pierce your own soul too." Whilst Jesus is walking to his death, his mother comes up to him in the crowd. When Jesus was still a baby and presented to God in the temple, Simeon prophesied to Mary that a sword will pierce your own soul too. What sadness must have filled Mary's heart when she saw her son, knowing he was going to die. For all mothers who struggle to support their children, for all mothers who watch their children go hungry, for all mothers who see their children suffering and feel powerless to help, for all mothers we pause and pray. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you looked through the crowd and saw your mother's eyes. Her love gave you the strength to carry on. Walk with us. When we don't want to listen, open our ears to hear. When it would be easier to look away, open our eyes to see. The soldiers compelled a passerby who was coming in from the country to carry his cross. It was Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus. Simon is compelled to help Jesus. Despite not knowing who Jesus is, he is taken from the crowd to walk with him and carry his cross. Alfredo, pictured on the left, is an expert in labour rights from CAFOD's network in Bolivia. Alfredo and his colleagues have been supporting Adan on the right, union leader for the Cobija Refuse Collectors Union. Adan received training to help him campaign for labour rights in his sector. Now, the refuse collectors have health insurance, 1 day off a week, and holiday entitlement. They are still striving to improve their working conditions. When a moment arises for us to help others, do we support them without complaint? Do we look for opportunities to help others? Or do we try to keep out of the way, telling ourselves that it's not our responsibility? We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you know what it means to depend on someone and to need their help. Walk with us. When my friends need help, teach me to work with them to lighten their burden. Show me how to listen carefully so that I can offer what they need. We are your global family of many different colours, cultures and religions. Make us one family united in you. And the King will answer them, truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of our family, you did it to me. Veronica was able to reach out and touch Christ's face. The gentle, generous, humble action of wiping Jesus' face, a face covered in blood and sweat, was one of love and humanity. It recognized the dignity of Jesus, not just seeing him as a spectacle walking by. Do we look for Christ in our brothers and sisters? Do we anoint them through our respect for their human dignity? We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you know how it feels to be hurt and to cry out in pain and fear. Walk with us. Show us how to walk together with others. Show us how to love the people around us and to be there for those who need us. You have lived on earth in luxury and pleasure. You have fattened your hearts for the day of slaughter. You have condemned, you have murdered the righteous one. He offers you no resistance. Continuing his journey towards the place where he will die, Jesus becomes increasingly weak. He falls again. The journey must seem never-ending, and each step is made more difficult by the weight of the cross and the pain. Jesus is becoming weaker. When the everyday pressures of life, health, work, relationships, are pulling us down, it can be hard to remember that other people may be experiencing even greater difficulties. How can we walk alongside those who are weary today? The region around the Atrato River in Colombia has high biodiversity and is at a high risk due to climate change. It is also affected by armed conflict, fueled by illegal economies such as gold mining, which has contaminated much of the river. In 2016, the Colombian Constitutional Court gave rights to the river, its tributaries and the communities living next to it. The ruling also established guardians of the river. The Ministry of Environment is one of the guardians. The communities living along the river have selected 14 guardians, 1 man and 1 woman for each community. 16-year-old Proto is part of a group of young guardians created by his parish priest, Father Sterling. The group raises awareness in the community about the importance of caring for the river and its surroundings. Proto and his friends also do activities, such as cleaning the Dona Joseva Creek, which flows into the river. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you stumbled and fell. You lost strength and became tired, and yet you carried on. Walk with us. When we find it hard to keep going, give us the strength we need to finish our work as well as we can and show love to others. A great number of the people followed him, and among them were women who were beating their breasts and wailing for him. Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem and tells them not to weep for him, but for themselves and their children. Mtora Mission Hospital in Zimbabwe shelters many expectant mothers during their last few weeks of pregnancy. Sister Concilia Mankuli says, sometimes when the women arrive at the hospital, they don't even have clothes for the baby or food for themselves. For example, one pregnant woman came to our convent because she didn't have anything, even to eat. We had to count out some money to give her so that she could buy food for herself while she was staying here at the hospital. In the world, there is so much to weep over. Sometimes we feel there is little we can do but cry. But following our tears, we commit ourselves to action to support all our sisters and brothers to flourish. We must always have hope. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you cared and spoke out, even on the road to your death. You knew and felt the suffering of others. Walk with us as we hear the stories of our sisters and brothers who live in poverty. Give us the courage to raise our voices so that together we can work for change. Come to me, all you who labour, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden light. As the journey to his crucifixion comes to an end, Jesus falls one more time. Jesus, who died for our sake, falls under the burden. For people living in poverty, there is so much to cause them to fall. Faced with many challenges, do we give up, or do we look to God for strength and hope? No one is beyond the reach of God's love. We pray for ourselves and for all those who need strength and courage, that in the face of so many struggles, the love of Christ will urge us on. Farida Yasmin is a disability rights activist in Bangladesh, who lost the use of her legs when she was 2.5 years old. Accessibility to her home is difficult after heavy rainfall because of waterlogged streets. With CAFOD's support, Farida led a disability rights group in her community and became more well known as a community leader. This in turn led to her travelling the country to promote awareness of the rights of disabled people. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you felt the darkness around you, the crowds surrounded you. You fell once more. Walk with us when we lose hope, when everything is just too difficult. Show us how to reach out to each other and hold hands, so that none of us have to do everything on our own. Help us to know that you walk alongside us, even when we feel most alone. The soldiers took his clothes and divided them into 4 parts, one for each soldier. They also took his tunic. Arriving at his place of execution, even the clothes he is wearing are stripped from him. He is left with nothing. In Populorum Progressio, St. Pope Paul VI starkly challenges us that no one may appropriate surplus goods solely for his own private use, when others lack the bare necessities of life. Hearing those words, how am I challenged? Do I have surplus goods I am hoarding? What am I challenged to do for those who lack the bare necessities of life? We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you sacrificed everything and endured mockery for our sake. Walk with us when we value possessions more than people, or look down on someone who has less. Show us your face in theirs. When they came to the place that is called the skull, they crucified Jesus there with the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Jesus is nailed to the wood of the cross. In agony, his body is lifted high in this most violent of acts. We remind ourselves that we are all made in the image of God, that as part of God's family we are all connected. When one person feels hurt, hungry or abandoned, we are all hurt, hungry and abandoned. Their pain is our pain. This is a challenge. When do we cause pain to others? When do we hold them back? When do we fail to love our neighbour as we should? We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you cry out in pain. Walk with us. Challenge us when we hold people back, when we look down on them, when we don't treat them with respect. Help us to remember that everyone is equal, that we are all made in the image of God. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last. In agony, Jesus breathes his last and dies on the cross. We pause. You remember all those who have died due to lack of food or water, those who have been unable to support themselves and their families. We remember all those who have died through violence and conflict, those who have died during floods or storms. We remember those we have loved who have gone before us, and all those whose names we do not even know. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. Amen. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you know what it's like to feel alone, lost and afraid, betrayed and abandoned. Walk with us, and show us how to walk with others who live in fear and face death through hunger, thirst, violence and war. Show us how to pray for sisters and brothers that we have never met, but who are always loved by you. Joseph of Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus, though a secret one because of his fear of the Jews, asked Pilate to let him take away the body of Jesus. Pilate gave him permission, so he came and removed the body. Lifeless, Jesus is taken down from the cross. Joseph of Arimathea asked for Jesus' body to bury him with dignity. In the midst of the chaos, sadness and anxiety, we are called into action to do what we can. The state of the world can sometimes feel so bad that there is nothing we can do. Pope Francis encourages us not to lose hope. Yet all is not lost. Human beings, while capable of the worst, are also capable of rising above themselves, choosing again what is good, and making a new start despite their mental and social conditioning. I appeal to everyone throughout the world not to forget this dignity which is ours. No one has the right to take it from us. We pray that at times of difficulty we will not lose hope, that we will remain open to the reality of the world, that we will recommit ourselves to taking positive action. Sister Marley displays her cross. It reads, "Only one heart and only one soul." Sister Marley is a nurse. When a cyclone hit Mozambique in 2019, the bishop asked her to go into the communities and talk to people about sanitation, nutrition, and taking care of children. This was vital work because of the danger of cholera and other waterborne diseases. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you know what it means to have friends who risk their own lives to take your body from the cross. Walk with us. Show us how to be friends to those close to us and to those far away. Teach us to see you in everybody, to be kind, loving and strong, to be like you. Joseph bought a linen cloth, and taking down the body, wrapped it in the linen cloth and laid it in a tomb that had been hewn out of the rock. He then rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where the body was laid. Jesus is laid in the tomb. The world is silent, a time of waiting. As we pause, we rest. Amidst the busyness of life, we also need to take time to rest, and in this resting to listen to God. How often do we feel so busy that we do not have time to rest and time to listen to God in prayer? Even our work for justice in the world can feel so urgent that we do not take time to pray. For the times we have failed to pause, to rest, to make time to hear God's voice, we ask forgiveness. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, in the darkness of the tomb, those who loved you felt sad and alone. They did not know what to do. Walk with us. Guide us in difficult times, so that we can share you with our sisters and brothers when they feel sad and alone. Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Jesus' death on the cross was not the end. Through Christ's passion, his death and resurrection, we have the strength to continue our daily journey. We are inspired to continue to reach out to those on the margins with love, so that all people may flourish. As we reflect on Jesus' final journey, we pray for the strength to live each day as people transformed through God's love, and that we will radiate God's love to all of creation. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus, you share your life, your light, and your peace with us all. Walk with us. Show us how to live out your love, so that our sisters and brothers here and around the world may know the joy of new life, and we may all be changed by living in your light.